What's up, everybody? I hope you've all been well. Welcome to Q&A for another week. I also want to cover some news in this one. No doubt you saw the trailer that was released for the sequel to Zelda Breath of the Wild. It looks pretty amazing, don't you? I've been playing through Breath of the Wild on Master Mode recently on the Switch and enjoying it even more. So hopefully it's not like a 5-year wait until... Thanks so much for all your questions this week. As always, if you guys have questions that you want to ask me about guitar gear in general or my life or Nintendo Switch, if you're into that kind of thing, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you guys. Let's get into this week's question. I immediately got a couple of questions about the Boss 200 series. If you're unfamiliar with that, they look like the spiritual successor to the double pedal 20 series. I've actually still got a DD20 and an EQ20. Well, now there's a DD200, an EQ200, an OD200, and an MD200. Looks like it takes a lot of the features from the 500 series pedals and crams them into a smaller box without the menus. So a little bit more like a traditional turn some knobs kind of thing. The one that I like the look of the most though is the EQ200, mainly for the fact that it can do pre-post and you can have two separate 10-band EQs. So what you could do is connect this pedal with, say, your tube head and run a 10-band pre-EQ into your high-gain head, and then also have a 10-band EQ in the loop of your amp for like solo boosts and stuff. The only thing it needs is a noise gate, and it would be the absolute perfect all-in-one chugga tighten up a high-gain amp machine. So that's pretty cool. The DD200 I really like the look of as well. The OD200 and the MD200 less interesting to me. Yeah, because I guess I'm kind of less into those things. The MD200 doesn't have the dimension mode. If it had the dimension mode, I would be super into it because that was my favorite mode on the MD500 by a long way. It'd be really cool if they come out with an RV200 for the Space Echo sound, or like a pitch shifting one, or they do like a synth. That would be pretty cool. Maybe work that into the pitch shifting one. But yeah, what do I think? EQ200 looks really exciting. DD200, I love delays. I'd love to try one, and hopefully I will get a chance to try all of these pedals at some point and demo them for you guys. But yeah, pretty cool announcement from Boss, I think. Did I convert my AX8 patches when I got an AXE-FXHI? No, I actually built my patches from the ground up with the 3. Basically, I got the 3, I unboxed it. You can watch the unboxing video, you can watch my review. I just tried a bunch of the presets and I thought they sounded great, which is pretty rare for me with presets. And then I just basically dialed up the AUSSIE C++ and a couple of stock cabs, and I built a preset in about 5 minutes from the front panel with it. And my attitude with the 3 was that because it's running different modeling firmware, different algorithms, that I just really wanted to hear what it can do rather than just take my AX8 patch and convert it. My AX8 patches are never that complicated either, so I was able to build a live patch with it pretty quickly. But yeah, it's really easy to do. You can use Fractal to do it, but I think because the AXE-FXHI Aries firmware, we're on like firmware 5.9 or something at the time I'm doing this video, it's come a long way from Quantum 10 or whatever the AX8 has. And you know, I'm sure the AXE-FXHI is like oversampling stuff at higher rates, and there's faster, more powerful DSPs and stuff. So my advice would be, if you're converting, convert it, but then be prepared to do a whole bunch of tweaking, because I think the AXE-FXHI just sounds different. It's a different unit. It's a different beast altogether. Or take my advice and just start from scratch. That's pretty fun. Should you worry about the resale value on a guitar? Oh, this is a juicy question. My immediate answer is that if you're buying a guitar and looking at it at an investment, it's like the worst financial investment you can ever make. So one, don't look at it from that perspective. I don't think you are. Obviously, there's certain guitars which hold their value really well. You know, if you're getting Gibson reissues, you're getting Fender reissues, those things you will always be able to sell. But my advice would be, if you can try as many guitars out, just get the best thing that you can afford. That doesn't necessarily mean the most expensive guitar, but you know, set yourself a budget and try to play as many instruments as you can. And my advice is really find a guitar that works with your personality and your character and your identity as a player, and try to find a guitar that's like your guitar. I'm sitting here like around a whole bunch of guitars, but that PRS single cut that I've got, that's my guitar. Like, that's the one that just fits for what I like to do if I want to play Leon style music, that guitar just works so well for me. And I've talked about the way I found that guitar. I played like 10 other PRSs in a shop, picked that one up last, played an A and just went, I know I like the way this feels. I know the way it sounds. I'm going to like it. And, you know, it's kind of the guitar that I think I really crystallized my identity around. So yeah, don't worry about the resale value too much, because if you're looking at it from a purely financial perspective, you're going to lose money. Yeah, it's an expensive process to find a guitar or guitars that really work for your style. But unfortunately, that's just kind of a rite of passage that I think you have to go through. You know, you kind of got to earn your tone one way or another. So yeah, don't worry about the resale value, man. Just like get the instrument that speaks to you and works for you and live with it and play it and bleed and sweat all over it and make it yours. Treble boosters, my advice would be run them first in the chain. A lot of the time, treble boosters, like a lot of fuzzers, have impedance issues. So if you're running them after something that's buffered, they might sound crummy. But my advice would be, yeah, just run them like first thing in the chain, because a lot of people use a treble booster as an always-on style effect to essentially work with their guitar pickups and amplifier. And a lot of people who love treble boosters use simple rigs as well. So definitely in that sense, I would probably run it before everything else. But I don't use a treble booster in my rig at the same time. So what do I know? Australian pickup manufacturers, I really can't recommend Martin A. Smith here in Perth enough, because he makes great stuff. He's also a buddy of mine, so a big shout out to Martin. He makes some really fantastic sounding pickups, and he's one of the few people that I know of who is making aftermarket Fender wide range pickups, which is a pretty cool niche to occupy as well. PEAVEY TRANSTUBE technology, I should get around to checking that out again. I remember when I was in high school, we had PEAVEY, maybe it was a Rage or something. It said TRANSTUBE on it anyway, and it was that and a Marshall MG, and I always preferred playing through the PEAVEY because it kind of had this like grunty thing about it. I don't know if it was a speaker it had in it, but that's a pretty good idea for a video. That seems to be kind of old technology, but there's no reason why it can't sound good, right? So I'm going to add that one to my list, my very long list of things to check out and demo, the PEAVEY TRANSTUBE. Thanks for the suggestion. Will I get around to doing some solo guitar music once we wrap this Ragdoll album, whenever that is, whenever we get around to finishing it? I do want to go and record some solo stuff, maybe a solo EP. If you guys are interested in that kind of thing, let me know, because I'm always trying to gauge reaction. I just kind of go, no one wants to hear instrumental guitar music from me, but what do I know? Hey, that's pretty much the whole point of this channel, is like, I know nothing, so I throw it out there to you guys and hopefully get a response. But it'll be a good challenge, I think. I do like a lot of instrumental music, though not necessarily like kind of nerdy guitar technical music. So if I do something, it's going to be melodic and textured and not just kind of... There'll be some in there, of course, though. When am I getting an FM3? I don't know. When are they coming out? They still haven't announced a launch date. I get like probably 10 emails and messages a week like, hey, do you have an FM3 yet? And I saw someone the other day say, it was on a forum, and they were like, oh, I'm sure Leon's got one, but he's got like an NDA or something like that. And I don't have an NDA with any companies. I'm a guy sitting in my room. I play in a rock band. I make some noise. I make a bunch of videos. So yeah, like maybe go and ask someone who actually works for Fractal if you want to find out when the FM3's going to be out. But I'm going to get my hands on one as soon as I can physically get my hands on one, because it is a very exciting product and I want to check it out. And most importantly, I want to make a bunch of videos for you guys, because I know a bunch of you are going to go and buy one. So let's all get FM3s together whenever they come out. Am I fussy about picks? Yeah, a little bit, I think. I just tend to use like the one pick all the time. It's the white Tortex 1 point whatever, 355. Anything over 1 mil, generally for playing like rock music, is what I like. For acoustic stuff, I like the green Tortexes, the 1 mils. They're pretty cool. There's a lot of picks I don't like, and that's why I don't use them, but I'm pretty much just like a Tortex guy. I think for me, I drop them less, and that's like my absolute metric for a good pick. I know there's like V picks and gravity and all this kind of stuff. Stuff I would love to check out. You know, if anyone wants to send me some of these picks to review or demo, like, I'll do it, because hey, I'll do anything, right? But yeah, I really, really do like the white Tortex Jazz 3s. I've been using them for 2 or 3 years now, which is probably the longest I've ever used a pick. Decoding IR names on the AXE-FX, essentially think of it like this. You're going to have some kind of manufacturer name up front, like, you know, if it's York Audio, it'll be YA. If it's Ownhammer, it'll be OH. If it's Leon Todd, it'll be LT. And then some kind of like vague reference to the type of cabinet. Often if it says Brit, it's probably going to be a Marshall cab. If it's like ORNG, it's going to be an Orange. Often Cali is going to be a Mesa Boogie. American is probably going to be some kind of Fender. Class A is going to be Vox. You know, these are all the kind of terms people use to refer to these amps on the internet. And then you're going to have the speaker types, so like V30, Celestion Vintage 30, EV12M is going to be an Electro Voice, that kind of thing. And then often they list the microphone used, so Shure SM57, Royer 121, Bayer make the M160, I think. Yeah, M160, KSM 313, all these kind of different microphones. And then often there'll be like a number like 123, ABC, mix. Mix means it's going to be a collection of different microphones blended together, and different manufacturers have like different things, like Ownhammer uses like 01, 02, 03, and they have different positions like on axis, off axis. So my advice would be, don't read the IR names at all. Use your ears, like use my looper trick that I talked about in a video, like play a loop and just sit there with your eyes closed and click through until you hear an IR that you like, and then use it and don't worry about the name, because you can get too caught up in like, oh, but I'm not using an SM57. That's good or bad, or what is it? It doesn't matter. Use what sounds good. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's Q&A. I'm going to go and play a bunch of Zelda Breath of the Wild now. See you next week.